The lights of Kalis Prime never dimmed. The whole planet was one big market that never slept. Ships landed every hour. Traders shouted. Aliens of every shape and color pushed through the crowded streets. In the center stood the grand auction dome, huge, round, and made of black glass that shone like oil. Inside, the air smelled of metal, spice, and fear. High above the main floor, in a private box made of crystal, sat Princess Satara Valoran. She belonged to the Vexari Dominion. Her people were tall, thin, and their skin changed color like oil on water, blue, green, violet, gold. They thought they were the best in the galaxy. Everyone else was just a tool, a toy, or food. Satara leaned back on soft purple cushions. Her long fingers played with a thin gold chain around her neck. Below her, the auction block glowed under bright white lights. Chains rattled. Voices called out prices. She watched it all with bored eyes. A new lot was brought forward. The auctioneer, a fat four-armed creature from the rings of Jorak, raised all four hands. His voice boomed through hidden speakers. Lot 47, fresh from the outer rim, 1 Terran male, combat training confirmed, no brand, no owner marks. Starting bid, 5,000 credits. The crowd laughed. 5,000 was nothing. Most people spent more on drinks. Satara looked down. The human stood in the middle of the block. Chains held his wrists and ankles, but he did not pull against them. He was not tall, not short, just average. His hair was dark and cut short. Scars ran across his arms and one side of his neck, old white lines. His clothes were torn gray cloth. His face showed nothing. No anger, no fear. He simply stood and looked straight ahead. Satara smiled. Her sharp teeth caught the light. Humans, she said to the 2 attendants beside her. So small, so weak. They die if you breathe too hard on them. One attendant, a young Vexari female, laughed politely. The other nodded. They break fast, the young one said. I saw one last month. Lasted 3 days in the poison gardens. Then he just stopped. Satara tilted her head. This one looks boring, but maybe he will scream nicely. She watched the bidding start. A merchant from the lower levels offered 6,000. A pirate captain with red scales bid 7. Someone in the back yelled 8. The numbers climbed slowly. Nobody cared much. Humans were common now. Earth had joined the galactic maps only 30 cycles ago. Most humans worked in mines, factories, or died in cheap fights. Satara felt a small spark of interest. Not much, just enough to make her sit up a little. She raised one finger. The auctioneer saw it at once. 10,000 from the royal box, he shouted. Do I hear 11? Silence. The pirate captain looked up at the crystal box. He saw Satara's glowing skin and long black hair. He lowered his hand. The merchant from the lower levels also stayed quiet. Sold, the auctioneer cried, to Princess Satara Valoran. The crowd clapped. Some whistled. Most just turned to the next lot. Guards moved forward. 2 big Vexari in black armor grabbed the human's chains. They pulled him off the block. He walked between them without fighting. His steps were slow and even. As they passed under her box, Satara leaned over the edge. She spoke loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. You won't last, she said. Her voice was smooth and cold. Not even 1 full cycle. Maybe not even 10 days. Humans always break. The guard stopped for a moment. The human lifted his head. He looked straight at her. His eyes were dark gray. Very calm, like deep water that had never been touched by wind. There was no hate in them, no begging, just waiting. Satara felt a tiny cold touch on the back of her neck. She pushed it away. Stupid feeling. He was nothing, a toy, a short-lived thing. She waved her hand. Take him to the transport. Clean him. Put him in the hold with the others. The guards pulled him forward again. He did not look back. Satara sat down. She picked up a thin glass of blue wine and drank. The taste was sharp and sweet. She smiled again. Fragile little thing, she whispered to herself. I will enjoy watching you break. Outside the dome, the sky of Kalis Prime turned purple as the twin suns began to set. Ships roared into the air. Traders counted their money. Slaves were loaded into dark holds. In one of those holds, the human sat on the cold metal floor. Chains still on his wrists. Around him were other captives, scaled, feathered, furred. Some stared at nothing. One, a tall insect-like creature, hissed prayers in a clicking language. The human did none of those things. He closed his eyes. He breathed slow and deep. The engines hummed. The ship lifted off. Satara's personal yacht was faster than most. It cut through space like a silver knife. Inside, the halls were bright and clean. Walls of white stone, floors of polished black. Servants moved quietly. None spoke unless spoken to. Satara walked ahead of the guards. Her long robe touched the floor. The human followed behind, chains gone now. They had taken them off when he stepped onto her ship. No need for chains here. Where could he run? She did not look at him. They reached a wide room with tall windows. Stars moved past in long white lines. Satara stopped. She turned. He stopped too. 5 steps away. She studied him again. Closer this time. His scars were many. Some looked like burns, some like blade cuts. One long mark ran from his left shoulder down to his ribs. It was old and smooth. You fought before, she said. He did not answer. Speak when I speak, she ordered. He looked at her. Same calm eyes. I have fought, he said. His voice was quiet, low, no accent, just plain. Satara smiled. Good. Then you will fight for me. Until you die. He said nothing. She stepped closer. Her skin shifted to deep violet, a sign of interest. I collect interesting things, she told him. Rare animals, strange machines, broken warriors. You will be my new shadow. You will stand behind me. You will watch, and when I am bored, I will find a new game for you. She waited. He did not move, did not speak. Annoyance flashed in her eyes. You think you are strong? She asked. No, he said. The answer surprised her. Then why do you stand so straight? Why do your eyes not shake? He looked past her, at the stars. I stand because I can, he said. Satara laughed. The sound was sharp. You won't last, she said again. I promise you that. She turned and walked away. Her robe whispered against the floor. The guards pushed the human toward a side door. He followed. Behind him, Satara stopped at the window. She looked at the black nothing of space. A small smile curved her lips. She would enjoy this one. The silver yacht slipped into orbit around Vexar Prime like a quiet knife. The planet below was a jewel of green oceans and glowing crystal cities. Towers rose so high they touched the thin clouds. Lights moved in endless patterns across the surface. It was beautiful. It was also cruel. Princess Satara stepped onto the landing platform first. Cool wind touched her skin and made it shift to soft silver. Guards in black armor waited in 2 perfect lines. They bowed low. She did not look at them. She walked forward without a word. Behind her walked the human. No chains now. No guards touched him. He followed 5 steps back, eyes moving slowly over everything. The tall spires, the floating gardens, the servants who hurried out of the way when they saw Satara coming. He noticed how the servants kept their heads down, how their hands shook a little. He noticed everything. They entered the palace through a wide gate made of living crystal. It changed color as they passed. blue to green to deep red. Inside, the halls were cool and bright. Walls shone like wet glass. Floors were black stones so smooth it looked like water. Statues of old Vexari kings stood in rows, their eyes made of glowing gems. Satara led him to a large room with tall windows. Outside, the twin moons hung low and silver. She turned to him. "This is your place now," she said. "You are my shadow. You stand behind me. You watch. You do what I say. If you try to run, I will feed you to the gardens. The plants there eat slowly." The human looked around the room. It had one bed, low and wide, a small table, a basin of water. No door lock on the inside. He nodded once. Understood. Satara studied him. "You do not beg, you do not ask questions. Why?" "I listen," he said. "Questions come later." She laughed, short and sharp. "Good. Listening is useful. Most humans scream first and listen never." She walked to the window. "Tomorrow the court meets. Nobles will come. They will test you. They always test new toys. Do not die too fast. It bores me." She left without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss. The human stood alone for a long time. He walked to the window, looked at the moons. Then he sat on the floor with his back to the wall. He closed his eyes. His breathing became slow and even. He did not sleep. He waited. Morning came with bright white light. Servants brought him clothes, simple gray tunic and pants. They did not speak. They left food on the table, strange fruits and thin strips of meat. He ate slowly. He tasted each bite. Nothing poisoned. Not yet. Guards came for him. They led him through long halls to the great hall. It was huge. Pillars of crystal rose to a domed roof that showed the sky. Hundreds of Vexari nobles stood in groups. Their skins flashed every color. They talked in low voices. When Satara entered, they all became quiet. She sat on a high throne made of black crystal. Her robe was long and flowed like water. She pointed to a spot behind her right shoulder. The human walked there and stood, straight, still, eyes forward. The nobles looked at him. Some smiled. Some whispered. A tall noble stepped forward. His skin was deep crimson. He wore gold chains around his neck. "Princess," he said, "your new pet looks plain." Satara smiled. "Plain things can surprise, Lord Varak." Varak laughed. "Then let us see if he surprises." He clapped his hands. Servants rolled in a large glass cage on wheels. Inside was a beast, 6 legs, thick black fur, mouth full of needle teeth. Its eyes glowed yellow. It snarled and hit the glass with its head. "The Kreshar from the Shadow Moons," Varak said. "It kills for fun. Let us see if the human lasts 1 minute." "Open the cage." The cage door slid up. The Kreshar jumped out. It moved fast. Claws scraped the floor. It went straight for the human. The human did not run. He stepped to the side, just one small step. The beast missed. It turned, snarled, jumped again. The human waited until the last moment. Then he caught the front leg in both hands. He twisted hard. There was a loud crack. The beast screamed. It fell. The human stepped on its neck. One quick stomp. The neck broke. The beast stopped moving. The hall was silent. Varak stared. 1 minute, he said. He took 12 seconds. Satara leaned forward. Her eyes were bright. Interesting. More tests came that day. They put him in a small room filled with poison gas. The air burned the lungs of most species. Vexari could breathe it for a short time. Humans should die fast. They watched through thick glass. The human stood in the center. He breathed shallow, slow. His face stayed calm. After 10 minutes, they opened the door. He walked out. His eyes were a little red. That was all. They sent him against 2 Vexari fighters in the training pit. The fighters had energy blades. The human had nothing. He moved like water, never where the blade was. He caught one wrist, broke it. Caught the other, broke that too. Both fighters fell screaming. Sitara watched from her seat. She did not clap. She just watched. Night came. She called him to her private chambers. The room was large, soft lights, long bed covered in silk. Windows showed the city lights far below. She sat on the bed. Her skin glowed pale blue. "You did not die today," she said. "No," he answered. She stood and walked close to him, close enough to touch. She lifted one hand and traced a scar on his cheek. "You have many scars," she said. "How many fights?" "Enough." She smiled. "You will not last," she whispered. "Everything breaks in the end." He looked into her eyes. His face did not change. "Maybe," he said. She stepped back. "Go, rest. Tomorrow will be harder." He bowed his head a little and left. In the dark halls, servants whispered as he passed. The human did not scream. He killed the Kreshar like it was nothing. He did not even breathe hard in the poison room. "He is wrong. Something is wrong with him." The human heard them. He kept walking. Back in his small room, he sat against the wall again. He looked at his hands. Old scars, new bruises from the day. He closed his eyes. Outside, Sitara stood at her window. She stared at the moons. Her skin flickered between colors, blue, then violet, then red. She felt something new, not boredom, not anger, curiosity. And under that, something colder, a tiny fear. She pushed it down. He is human, she told herself. Humans break. She turned from the window, but the fear stayed, small, quiet, waiting, like him. The night of shattered moons came every 10 cycles. It was the biggest festival on Vexar Prime. The twin moons looked broken, cracked by old weapons from ancient wars. People said the cracks glowed brighter on that night. Fireworks filled the sky. Music played in every hall. Nobles wore their brightest skins and richest robes. They drank strong wine and laughed too loud. In the palace, the great hall was full. Tables groaned under food, rare meats, glowing fruits, bowls of liquid light. Dancers moved like smoke. Servants hurried with trays. Guards stood at every door, but tonight they looked relaxed. Even enemies came to drink together on this night. Princess Sitara sat on her high throne. Her skin glowed deep gold. She wore a dress of black silk that caught every light. Around her neck hung a necklace of tiny captured stars, real ones, trapped in crystal. She looked perfect, untouchable. Behind her right shoulder stood the human. Gray tunic, hands loose at his sides. He watched the room the way a hunter watches tall grass. Sitara leaned back. She sipped from a thin glass. "Enjoying the view, Shadow?" He did not answer right away. Then he said, "Many eyes on you tonight." She smiled. "Of course. I am the princess. Not all eyes are friendly," he said quietly. She laughed. "You worry now? Cute." A noble approached. It was Lord Verak again. His crimson skin looked almost black under the lights. He bowed low, but his eyes stayed sharp. "Princess," he said, "a gift for the night." He clapped once. 2 servants carried in a long box made of dark wood. They set it down. Verak opened the lid. Inside lay 6 thin blades. Each one shone like liquid silver. The edges looked too sharp to see clearly. "Monomolecular shadow blades," Verak said, "from the forbidden forges of the outer dark. A small token." Sitara raised an eyebrow. "Generous. I only wish to see them used." He looked at the human. "Perhaps your new toy can show us." Sitara waved a hand. "Later. Tonight is for pleasure." Verak bowed again and stepped back into the crowd. The music grew louder. Dancers spun faster. Laughter rolled like waves. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice. People looked up. The third flicker stayed dark for a heartbeat too long. A low hum started. Not music, something else. Satara sat up straight. The human moved one step closer to her. Explosions came from the outer halls, sharp, bright. Screams followed. The main doors burst open, black shapes poured in, Vexari in dark armor, faces hidden by masks. They carried long rifles that spat blue fire. They shot at the guards first. Guards fell. Blood, bright and glowing, splashed the floor. Assassins, someone screamed. Panic exploded. Nobles ran. Tables overturned. Dancers fell. Servants hid under tables. Satara stood. Her skin flashed angry red. The human did not run. He stepped in front of her. 3 assassins came straight for the throne, fast, silent, blades in both hands. The first one jumped high, blade aimed at Satara's heart. The human caught the wrist in midair, twisted, bones snapped. The blade turned back toward the attacker. It went through the mask and into the throat. The assassin dropped without a sound. The second one fired a dart, thin, glowing green, poison. The human tilted his head 1 inch. The dart passed. He stepped forward. One hand went to the shooter's neck. Fingers closed. Cartilage crunched. The body fell limp. The third tried something worse. He raised empty hands. His eyes glowed white. Psionic attack. Mind rape. A wave of pain and fear slammed toward the human's head. The human looked straight back. Nothing happened. The attacker's eyes widened. He screamed. Dropped to his knees. Clawed at his own face. Blood ran from under his mask. He fell forward and did not move. Satara stared. More assassins came. 5 now. They moved together. Perfect teamwork. One threw a small ball. It rolled under the throne, hissed, started to glow red. The human kicked it hard. The ball flew across the hall and exploded against a pillar. Crystal shattered. Fire bloomed. He did not wait. He walked toward the 5. They attacked at once. Blades flashed. Shots rang out. The human moved like he had seen every move before it happened. He caught a blade arm, broke the elbow, took the blade, turned it, cut deep across a chest, spun, dodged a shot, stepped inside another guard's reach, drove the stolen blade up under the chin. Another one came from behind. The human did not look. He reached back, grabbed hair, pulled down hard, knee met face, crack, body dropped. The last 2 hesitated. The human did not. He walked straight at them. One fired, missed. The human closed the gap, hand around throat, lifted, slammed down onto the floor. Neck broke. The final assassin turned to run. The human threw the blade. It sank into the back of the neck. The body fell face first. Silence came back slowly. Screams still echoed in the distance. Smoke rose from broken walls. Bodies lay everywhere. Guards, nobles, assassins. Satara stood behind the throne. Her dress was torn at the shoulder. A thin line of glowing blood ran down her arm. Not deep, just enough to sting. She looked at the human. He stood in the center of dead assassins. Blood, hers and theirs, covered his gray tunic. His breathing was even. His face showed nothing. He turned to her. No smile, no pride, just calm gray eyes. Satara's voice came out small. You? She swallowed. What are you? He looked down at the bodies, then back at her. I am what comes after. She stared. After what? After you think you are safe, he said quietly. After you think nothing can touch you. He stepped over a body and walked to her side again, took his place behind her right shoulder. More guards rushed in, loyal ones this time. They saw the scene, stopped, looked at the human with wide eyes. Satara raised a hand. Secure the palace. Find who sent them. The guards moved fast. She turned to the human again. You saved me. He said nothing. Why? You are my duty, he answered. She laughed once. It sounded broken. You won't last, she said, but her voice was softer now, almost unsure. He looked at her. Maybe not, he said, but tonight was not the night. Outside, the fireworks still burst in the sky. The shattered moons glowed. The festival continued in other parts of the city. Here, in the great hall, only smoke and blood remained. Sitara sat slowly on the edge of the throne. Her hands shook just a little. The humans stood behind her, still, patient. The palace was quiet now, too quiet. The night of shattered moons had ended in blood and smoke. Servants cleaned the great hall in silence. They carried away bodies wrapped in black cloth. They scrubbed glowing stains from the floor. No one looked up. No one spoke to the human who stood in the shadows near the throne. Princess Sitara walked the empty corridors alone. Her torn dress dragged behind her. She had washed the blood from her arm, but the cut still burned. She felt it with every step. She reached her private chambers. The door hissed open. She stepped inside and stopped. The human was already there. He stood near the window, hands behind his back, looking at the city lights below. He did not turn when she entered. How did you get here before me? She asked. I walked, he said. She closed the door, locked it. You move like a ghost. He said nothing. Sitara crossed the room. She poured blue wine into 2 glasses. Her hand shook, just a little. She offered one to him. He took it, but did not drink. Sit, she said. He stayed standing. She sat on the edge of the bed. You killed 6 Shadowblades, elite killers, trained from childhood. You did it without a weapon of your own, without breaking a sweat. He looked at her. They came to kill you. Yes, she drank. The wine tasted bitter tonight. But you did not even blink when the psionic one tried to break your mind. Everyone else would have screamed, fallen, begged. I have no mind to break, he said quietly. She stared. What does that mean? He set the glass down untouched. It means I let go of fear long ago. Sitara laughed. It sounded hollow. Everyone has fear. Not everyone. She stood, walked close to him, close enough to see the small scars on his face, close enough to smell the faint metal scent of blood still on his clothes. Tell me who you are, she said. No games, no quiet answers. Tell me. He met her eyes. For the first time, she saw something deep in those gray depths. Not anger, not sadness, just age. As if he had seen too many nights like this one. I was human once, he said, fully, like the others you buy and break. Once? Wars came to Earth, not the small ones you hear about, the ones that almost ended everything. Enemies we could not fight with ships or guns. Things that lived in mines, things that ate stars. We lost too many, so we made choices. He paused. Some of us volunteered. They opened our heads, put things inside, machines, symbionts, pieces of the enemy we captured. They changed us, made us hard to kill, hard to scare, hard to stop. We became tools, weapons that waited. Sitara felt cold. Waited for what? For the moment when someone needed death to arrive. She stepped back. You are a reaper. Some call it that. Old human stories, death itself walking in flesh. She laughed again, shorter this time, nervous. My people have legends too. Beings who come when empires grow too proud, when rulers forget that power has a price. He nodded once. Your dominion has spent lives like water, planets emptied, species broken, children sold. You call it order. The galaxy calls it debt. Her skin flickered red, then pale blue. And you judge me? I do not judge, he said. I wait, The ledger balances itself in time. Sometimes I help it along. She stared at him. Why did you let them sell you? Why come here? To see, he answered. To watch, to learn if the debt was due yet. And is it? He looked out the window again. Not tonight. She felt anger rise. You think you can decide the fate of my empire? You? A thing made in a lab? I decide nothing, he said. I only arrive when it is time. Satara turned away. She walked to the bed and sat heavily. My father taught me one rule, never trust what you cannot break. She looked up at him. I cannot break you. No. Then what happens now? You decide, he said. You can try to kill me. You can send more assassins. You can lock me away, or you can keep me as your shadow. But the end will come the same way. She clenched her fists. And if I keep you? Then I watch. I protect. I wait. For my death? For the moment it is required. Silence filled the room. Satara stood again. She walked to a small cabinet, opened it, took out a thin silver band, a control collar, the kind used on dangerous slaves. It could shock, burn, stop the heart. She held it up. I could put this on you. You could try. Raised the collar to his neck. He did not move. She pressed it against his skin. Nothing happened. The collar sparked, once, then died. Smoke rose from the circuits. Satara dropped it. It clattered on the floor. She looked at her hands. They shook harder now. You are not afraid, she whispered. No. I am, she said. The words came out small. He said nothing. She turned and walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the cool glass. The city lights blurred. My empire is cracking, she said. The coup failed tonight, but others will try. My allies are leaving. My enemies grow bold. If I fall, you will not fall alone, he said. She turned. What does that mean? It means the ones who come after you will find me waiting. She studied him. You would fight for me? I would stand where I stand. Stopped, one step away. Tell me your name, she said. Not fragile, your real name. He looked at her for a long moment. Names do not matter anymore, he said. But once, they called me Elias. Elias, she repeated. It felt strange on her tongue. She reached out, touched the scar on his cheek, lightly. You saved my life tonight. You are still breathing, he said. She almost smiled. Is that all it takes? For now. She let her hand fall. Stay close, Elias. Closer than before. He nodded. She turned away, walked to the bed, lay down without changing, pulled a thin blanket over herself. He stayed by the window. She watched him for a long time. He did not move. She closed her eyes. Sleep came slowly. In the dark, she dreamed of ledgers written in glowing blood, pages that never ended, and a quiet man who turned them one by one. When morning light came through the window, she opened her eyes. He was still there, watching, waiting. The palace woke around them. Whispers spread through the halls. The human shadow had killed the killers, and something new moved in the air, a feeling no one could name. Fear. Not of the assassins, of the thing that had stopped them, the thing that waited. The days after the night of shattered moons felt heavy. The palace still smelled of smoke and burned crystal. Guards patrolled in larger groups. Servants moved faster and spoke less. Whispers followed the human everywhere he went. They called him the Silent Death now. Some said he was cursed. Others said he was the curse. Princess Satara tried to rule as before. She held meetings with the few nobles who still came. She gave orders. She smiled when she needed to. But her skin did not glow as bright. It stayed mostly pale silver, like moonlight on dead water. She kept Elias close, always 5 steps behind, always watching. She no longer called him fragile. She did not call him anything in front of others. Just my shadow. One morning she stood on a high balcony. The city spread below like a broken jewel. Smoke still rose from some districts. Rival houses had started open attacks. Small ships fought in the upper air. Explosions lit the dawn like angry stars. She turned to him. They smell weakness. He looked out at the fighting. They always do. I should strike first, she said. Send my fleet. Burn their towers. You could, he said. She looked at him, but you think it will not help. I think the debt grows faster when you pay with more blood. She gripped the railing. Her knuckles turned white. You speak like a priest. I speak like someone who has seen empires fall. She laughed bitterly. And how many have you watched fall? Enough. She turned away. I will not fall. That afternoon, she tried to kill him. She called him to a small sealed room deep in the palace. No windows, thick walls, one door that locked from outside. She stood inside with 2 guards. Each held a long energy lance, bright blue tips that could cut through steel. Hold him, she ordered. Elias did not fight. They grabbed his arms, pushed him to his knees. He let them. Satara stepped close. She held a small black device, a heart stopper. One press and it would send a pulse through his blood, stop everything. She pressed it to his chest. Nothing. The device sparked, smoked, died. She stared at it, then at him. Again, she said. They tried poison next. A drop of black liquid on his tongue. It hissed, turned to smoke. He swallowed without blinking. They tried a blade. One guard swung hard at his neck. Elias tilted his head. The blade missed by a hair. The guard stumbled. Elias caught the wrist, twisted. The guard screamed and dropped the weapon. Satara waved them back. Leave us, she said. The guards ran. She stood alone with him. Why won't you die? She asked. Because it is not time, he said. She sank to the floor, sat with her back to the wall. I am tired. He stayed standing. I wanted power, she said. I wanted fear. I wanted to be untouchable. Now I have nothing but enemies, and a thing that will not die. You still have time, he said. She looked up. To what? Change? Bed? Run? To choose. She laughed again. It sounded like breaking glass. Choose what? How you meet the end. She stared at him for a long time. That night the sky filled with ships. Not hers. Rival fleets. Red and black hulls. They moved in slow circles above the capital. Lances charged. Ready. Satara stood in the throne room. Empty now. No nobles. No dancers. Just broken pillars and dark stains on the floor. Elias stood behind her. The main doors opened. A tall figure walked in. Lord Varak. His crimson skin shone bright. Behind him came soldiers, armed, faces hard. Varak smiled. Princess, your time is up. You think so? I know so. He looked at Elias. Your pet will not save you this time. We brought numbers. Satara looked back at Elias. He met her eyes. She nodded once. Small, almost invisible. Varak laughed. What was that? A goodbye? Elias stepped forward. One step. Varak raised a hand. Kill them both. The soldiers moved. Elias walked toward them. He did not run. He walked. The first soldier fired. Blue bolt. Elias stepped aside. The bolt hit the wall. Elias closed the distance. Hand to throat. Squeeze. Drop. Second soldier swung a blade. Elias caught it mid-swing, bent the metal, broke it, drove the broken end into the soldier's chest. Third fired, missed. Elias reached him in 2 steps. Palm to face. Push. Neck snapped. More came. 10, 20. He moved through them like wind through leaves. Never fast, never angry, just certain. A wrist broken here, a throat crushed there, a body thrown into another. Quiet, efficient, inevitable. Varak watched. His smile faded. Satara watched too. She did not move. When the last soldier fell, Elias turned. Varrock stood alone now. He raised his hands. Wait! Elias kept walking. Varrock backed up. We can talk. Share power. You and I. Elias stopped in front of him. Varrock looked into those gray eyes. He screamed once, short, high. Then silence. Elias turned back to Satara. She stood in the middle of the throne room, surrounded by bodies. Her dress was clean, not one drop of blood on her. She looked at the dead, then at him. You could have let them take me, she said. I could. Why didn't you? You are still breathing. Orbital lances began to fall outside, not on the palace, on the defenses. The rival fleets moved in closer. They wanted her gone. Satara walked to the high window, looked out. The city burned in places. Ships fought. People ran. She turned to Elias. You won't last, she said. Her voice was soft, almost kind. Not in this galaxy, not forever. He stepped beside her. Maybe not, he said. She looked at him. But you will outlast me. Yes. She reached out, touched his arm, lightly. Thank you, she whispered, for standing. He said nothing. She let her hand fall. Then she walked to the throne, sat down. The doors opened again. More soldiers, different colors, different houses. They came for her. She looked at Elias one last time. He nodded. She closed her eyes. The soldiers stopped when they saw him. Elias walked forward. They hesitated. He did not. Outside, the sky turned red with fire. Inside, the throne room grew quiet. Death waited. Patient, as always. And when the moment came, it came without anger, without noise. Just a quiet end to a long story. The galaxy kept turning. Empires rose, empires fell, ledgers balanced, and somewhere in the shadows, a man with gray eyes kept walking, waiting for the next time.